Okay, let's go. So we're up to Siman Reish Memches Sif Dalet. So we're talking about traveling on Erev Shabbos. The Mechaber says, Hayotzim b'shayara b'midbar. Someone who's traveling through the midbar, through the desert. V'akol yoidim shem tzrichim mechal Shabbos. You're going to be in a situation where you're going to inevitably have to be mechal Shabbos. Ki mipnei hasakana lo yuchlu la'akev b'midbar b'Shabbos levadam. Because of the danger involved, you can't you're not going to be able to stay there on Shabbos and stay put, and therefore you're going to have to continue traveling, which is a tchum problem. So inevitably you're going to have to be mechal Shabbos. Therefore, the rule is this: Shloisha yomim kodim Shabbos asurim lotzeis. If you're within 3 days of Shabbos, you should not set out on your trip. Of a yom rishon, of a sheni, of a shlishi, mutar lotzeis. However, on Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday, then it's mutar lotzeis. V'im achar kach yera lo sakona. If afterwards a danger occurs, v'yitztorech lechal Shabbos, and then you might have to be mechal Shabbos v'pnei pikuach nefesh, mutar, that would be okay. Ve'ein kan chilul. So if you set out on Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday, then there would not be any concern of any subsequent chilul Shabbos that happens later in the week, on the following Shabbos. Va'oila l'Eretz Yisrael. If, however, your travel involves going to Eretz Yisrael, im nizdamna lo sheyore afilu be'erev Shabbos. If it turns out that you need to travel and leave even on a Friday to set out for Eretz Yisrael, kim de dvar mitzvah hu yochel lifresh. Since it's a dvar mitzvah to go to Eretz Yisrael, then that would be allowed even to go on a Friday. Or poisek imohem lishbois. You should try and stipulate with them that they should stop. This whole caravan of people traveling should stop on Shabbos. And if once they're out on the journey, they're in the midbar, they don't want to rest on Shabbos, don't want to stop, then you're allowed to travel with them, because for you sort of waiting behind on Shabbos for 24 hours and catching them up, that's a shaila of pikuach nefesh. And if you enter the city, to a certain city on Shabbos, you can actually walk the whole city. Even if you they rested immediately, sort of outside of the city, and then you want to go into the city, that would be a mutar. The kivan the ledvar mitzvah nofak yesh la'alpaim amal l'chol ruach. Since you went to ledvar mitzvah, you've got 2,000 amas l'chol ruach, and therefore you're allowed to get to enter into the entire city. Says the Ramah, yesh omrim shekol makom she'adam holech. Amazing. Anytime you're going, even on business or just to see somebody else, to see a friend, choshev hakol dvar mitzvah. That is called dvar mitzvah. Ve'ein choshev dvar harishus rak kasheholech hatayel. What's a dvar rishus? If you're going for it's a tour or to on a holiday or something like that, but business is not considered that, and that's called the dvar mitzvah. V'alkei nagu b'ksas makomos lahakel beinin haflogas asfinas v'alichas sheyara toich shleish yamim. And therefore, some people are makel. When it comes to traveling, they even allow within 3 days of Shabbos, that any form of business travel or the like, that is called dvar mitzvah. Okay, let's just do the Mishnah Bura. Sif Kotan Chaf Hei, Lechal Shabbos. Afilu Issa Drabonan. So the concern is if you go, the concern is Hakol Yodim Shem Strichen Lechal Shabbos. Everyone knows if you're going to be traveling in the midbar, you're going to be Chal Shabbos. Says the Mishnah Bura, even for Nisa Drabanan, quoting the Magen Avraham, who quotes the Rivash. Yom Rishon v'Sheni v'Shlishi. And therefore, but if, however, you go on a Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday, then that's mutar lotzeis. Why is that? Kvan Isbaya Tam says the Mishnah Bura, Mishum Dehem Nikroim Al Shem Shabbos Sha'ovar, because Sunday, Monday, Tuesday are sort of connected to the previous Shabbos. On me setting out on Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday, we don't have to worry about Chilul Shabbos for the coming Shabbos. If you know for sure you're going to come to Chilul Shabbos, even leaving on a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, if you know for certain you're going to come to Chilul Shabbos, it's going to be a problem. We try and avoid in a situation where we know it's going to come to Chilul Shabbos. We sort of even put ourselves in a makom shtickle sakana to avoid any potential Chilul Shabbos. Kadeshli isel mafreya al mashayotza that you shouldn't have set out in the first place.
Everyone knows.
The what? It's a funny lashon.
Yeah.
I think the point is that you're going to have to continue traveling, and therefore there's going to be a problem of Issa Tchum. Because
What everyone knows.
Yeah, it's a funny lashon. What's Hakol Yodim? Yeah, don't know, I'm not sure. Yeah, okay. So, but if you set out, this is Chav Zayin, if you set out on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, then it's Mutalot says, and if anything happens afterwards, if something occurs that's some sort of sakana and needs to be Mechal Shabbos, then that would be Mutar ve'en kan chilul. Says the Mishnah Berurah Chav Zayin, Ratzolema, the Kim the Memela Nispav Hadava, if it sort of evolves, Lebesoif ve'oines shall pikuach nefesh, that there is some sort of matter of pikuach nefesh, ein kan chil. If you have to get involved in that, that's not called chil Shabbos. Or pasha de lekula alma. Also, lehavtiach l'shayara be'es sheishtatif imo sheyisayim be'ez asiyas melacha b'Shabbos. You can't promise this whole entourage, this whole group who are going, that your Toranut, your volunteering, your contribution is going to be involved in Chil Shabbos. You can't promise him that. Even if it's a drabonon, even if it means you won't be able to join the trip. So you can't offer to be Mechal Shabbos as part of your job on the trip. The point is that if you leave on a Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday, and if then something crops up which is pikuach nefesh, you can get involved in it. Not that you can agree that from the outset. Okay, Eretz Yisrael. If, however, you're traveling to Eretz Yisrael, then even leaving on a Friday is okay because it's a dvar mitzvah. You're allowed to go. Says the Mishnah Berurah Chav Ches, Eretz Yisrael. Yesh omrim taharu dafka kadei lisyashiv ba. It doesn't mean you're going on a vacation. It means you're going to live there. No, even if you're going there for a shorter time, you're planning on returning. Just walking 4 amas in Eretz Yisrael is considered a mitzvah, and therefore it's not even if you're planning and returning, that's warrants leaving even on a Friday. Of a prat lefi mish hekel ramah b'soif siman ba'agah v'adei degam zeu b'chlal dvar mitzvah. Certainly, according to the Ramah, at the end of the siman, that he says that even going for business is okay, then certainly to spend a bit of time there at Yisrael is okay. It's interesting, if you look at note numbers 19 and 20, 2 things. V'im yesh sakona b'nasiya v'chei mi shelo tzia lo parnos b'Eretz Yisrael. If there is danger involved in the travel to Eretz Yisrael, again, Baruch Hashem nowadays going on an El Al flight, is not considered a sakonas drochim that Tosfos talks about in Ksubas and things like that. But if there is a sakona back in the day of traveling through wildernesses and whatever, or v'chein mi shelo tzia lo parnos b'Eretz Yisrael, v'yikshol lispo chayetzai, he will struggle to adopt with a very difficult financial situation in Eretz Yisrael. He's worried about the chinuch situation. So all the classic Teirim, let's say, of not living in Eretz Yisrael, debatable if they're still valid today. Kosova Pischei Tshuva, the Pischei Tshuva writes, she'ein mitzvah bedova af v'osle lalis. Then that's not considered the mitzvah of going to Eretz Yisrael if you've got all of these concerns. Af hoisif, but he does add, she'nasiyas yilodim ketanim einu nechsheves sakona. Traveling with children, that's not itself a problem. That's not called a sakona. Okay, and interestingly, a very important hara. So we said over here, going to Eretz Yisrael is considered dvar mitzvah, which will allow you to travel even on a Friday. But that's dafka if you're going, it's the dvar mitzvah. So 2 opinions, if it means going to live there or just going to spend time there. But that says in footnote 20, v'dafka k'shemachaven l'kayim b'zeh mitzvah Yisrael. It depends what your mindset is. Ulam im noseh rak b'shvul l'tayel. I want to sit by the pool or whatever. Then kazva shulchan aruch harav yesh listapik im yesh mitzvah b'dava v'nisha b'tzarchiyah. There's got to be there's got to be some altruistic reason why you're going to Eretz Yisrael. Okay. Right, so if it's Parnosa, then according to the Ramah, then that's also dvar mitzvah. So then it's a double mitzvah. Okay, so then the Mechaber carried on and said that you should be posek in Mohem Lishbois. You try to stipulate with them to stop over Shabbos, not to continue traveling, which would involve Chil Shabbos. And if they don't. Says the Mishnah posek Mohem Lishbois. V'ifsikahu le'kuva. V'im lo yisratzu b'zeh lo yechim. And if they don't agree, then not. If If you're going to just let them go ahead and you're going to stay there and you're worried there's going to be animals in the midbar, or bandits will come and they'll steal your animal, you're stuck and you won't be able to carry on walking and you'll endanger yourself, or they'll take your money. How are you going to sustain yourself in the midbar? They'll take your clothes in the winter months, which is it's valuable for them. And then you don't have to sort of stay behind. It will be mutter to continue traveling with them on Shabbos. Then we said chutz letchum mipnei pikuach nefesh. Says the Mishnah Berurah Lamed Aleph, v'uadin afilu chutz liyud beis mil nami shari, which is then according to some deraisa, ad she'yagir lemokum she'ein sham shuv chashash sakonos nefashos, to get to a place where there's no longer a concern of sakonos nefashos. V'yipared mehem v'yish beis sham, and then you separate and then you just stay there, and therefore you're not in a mokum sakona. V'yesh lemisham apayim lechol ruach, and then you've got 2,000 amas from wherever you stop. V'im nichnas. That means, so the Mechaber said, if you get into the city, b'Shabbos you can walk the entire city. Tekivin, says the Mishnah Berurah Lamed Beis, Tekivin ba'onis yotza chutz l'tchum b'nei pikuach nefesh. Since you went beyond the tchum because of pikuach nefesh, that was your heta to go beyond the tchum. V'gam mitchilosa b'shus nafak, and you went on a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Therefore, you went with permission; it was allowed. Al kain lo have a kasha yotza chutz l'tchum te'enei l'daladamas. Normally, we say if you go outside of the tchum, you've only got daladamas, which basically means you got to stay put where you are. But here, number one, since you went for pikuach nefesh purposes, you went outside the tchum. Plus, you went initially b'rishus. Therefore, you have 2,000 amas. Because Amogan Avram, the dafka kashalach ledvar mitzvah gemura, v'lo kashalach leschera. For this halacha, when you left, it's got to be proper. It's got to be a proper dvar mitzvah, not just for business purposes. After das hagal shegam zemikri tzorach mitzvah, even though the Ramah does say later on at the end of this simon that business is considered the tzorach mitzvah, mikol makom l'inin sheyeh yochel halech b'toich choleh. For this particular halacha of permission to walk within the entire city, it needs to be a proper dvar mitzvah. V'chein b'ma shekosa mechaber v'afilu v'chula yesh l'apayim l'chol ruach ein lismech al zeh kivin shehara poiskim cholkin al zeh. Okay, d'chivin de l'dvar mitzvah. So this that you're allowed to go in the entire city. Avlim yotzam itchila l'dvar harishus. But if you initially went out for a non-dvar mitzvah, for a voluntary reason, for a non-dvar mitzvah reason, even though you're allowed in that situation to go for pikuach nefesh, since initially you went against the das chachomim, that you went within 3 days of Shabbos, then the normal rules apply, as it were. But if you went before 3 days of bringing up to Shabbos, afilu l'dvar harishus, given the harishus So if you left on a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, then you would get your 2,000 amas. Commercial kosav b'simen tof zayin. Oid kosav im halach toich shloisha yomim b'nei shesova shemutar lelech toich shloisha yomim haveli shoygeg. If you weren't aware of this halacha, you went on a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or according to the other opinion, Thursday, Friday, then and you thought it was okay to go in that period of time, then it's called a shoygeg. And if it's a shoygeg, okay, good. Now, the Ramah adds that if it's what is a dvar mitzvah, even going l'schera. Says the Mishnah Berurah Lamed Daled, afilu yesh lemezonis v'elech l'schera l'harvacha. Sometimes we differentiate when it goes to schera. Does it mean like putting bread on the table, or does it mean just you've got bread on the table, but I want to make a bit of profit? So they're saying over here that schera means even if it's l'schera l'harvacha to get extra profit, it's not just literally to put bread on the table. If you're reclaiming money you lent to a non-Jewish person who is sick and you're worried he's going to die, unless the guy is a geises, it's not called Peseda Vadois, and therefore that's not it's not so urgent. The Eli Rabbi says, well, it's no different to business, you're just going to collect your debts. So what difference is it? It's a regular schera. And therefore, if it means you traveling within 3 days of Shabbos to collect debts from a Yehudi Shel Chayda, even if it's not a ghost, is that he would allow that. Okay, now then the Ramah just finished off and said the halichas shayara b'toich shlosh yomim is chayshim hakol ledvar mitzvah. Says the Mishnah Berurah Lamed Hey v'das Magen Avraham kushem b'shkam poskim halichas shayara ein lahakel. That you shouldn't be makel in that situation. However, the Ramah finishes ein nimches biyodan ha'el v'yesh lan misha yismeichu. Says the Mishnah Berurah v'makom shlenog lahakel ein kedai lechatchila lahakel to come a poskim sovrim to put in the mitzvah gemura, not just going for business. That's not good, not to rely on this Ramah. So there's a very interesting footnote 23. Let's just do the first two paragraphs of that. He says, "V'roifet Tayron, a doctor on call, hanimsa b'beis chaylim, ve'im yiyeh menutuk mishpachte b'leil Shabbos, yispat luhuv mishpachte me'enik Shabbos." He wants, in other words, he's on call on Shabbos morning. He's got to be in the hospital on Saturday, but he wants to be on Friday night. So he's allowed to go in on Shabbos morning, but should he stay in the vicinity of the hospital? That's the question. So he can come away from the hospital on Friday to be home Friday night with his family. Even though inevitably it will mean on Shabbos morning he'll have to go back in to deal with the patients who are b'sakona. That's called the tzorech mitzvah. However, Moshe argues, no, the doctor should stay in the hospital, that he shouldn't have to travel on Shabbos. Even if there's no wine and kiddush and whatever, that he should still do that. He shouldn't violate Shabbos. Okay, so that's of course, why are we talking about this? He's talking about it because we're talking about the Dvar Mitzvah, whether you can travel, and put yourself in a situation of sakana. The one final point, Mr. Yeah, maybe. Now this is very interesting. Same sort of issue. If someone fasts on Tzom Gedalia, he's concerned he's going to mess him. He's going to sort of become so unwell that he'll jeopardize his fasting on Yom Kippur. You should still fast on Tzom Gedalia. That just like you're allowed to go on a ship 3 days before Shabbos, because within you're allowed to go to Dvar Mitzvah. For a Dvar Mitzvah, you're allowed to go. So therefore, so too, if you're fasting on Tzom Gedalia, which is a week before Yom Kippur, the Dvar Mitzvah, even though it could jeopardize something down the road, then that would be okay. So it's very interesting how he takes this halach and applies it to that situation. Okay, say that is the end of Reish Mem Ches.